Well, hello and welcome back. You're at Bio 211 at Norwalk Community College. And again, I'm hoping you've read the textbook before you listen to this, but if you haven't, at least you've listened to this before you come to class. We are now looking at the characteristics of living organisms, in which there are 6 important life processes that you need to be able to distinguish. The first of which is going to be metabolism, the characteristics of responsiveness, what is movement, how do we actually define growth, what do we mean by differentiation, and what is reproduction, because it's not necessarily what you think. So metabolism, well, it's the sum of all the chemical processes inside of your body, and for better or worse, the chemical processes can simply be broken down into catabolism, or the breakdown of complex materials into simpler components. Think about what your digestive system does. Anabolism, or the building of complex chemical substances from smaller and simpler components. Think about what the cells of your body do with the materials that come from your digestive system. The sum of these are what we call metabolism. This can be measured in terms of the amount of calories that are burned. Right, these have everything and nothing to do with what you're doing when you're counting your calories, but at the same time, it's a useful tool. Okay. When we're thinking about to be responsive, what is responsiveness? The abilities of your body, and I said abilities for a reason, because all of these things are actually happening simultaneously, and they have to be processed inside your central nervous system or some other location. And I don't know why they go with detect a decrease in body temperature, aside from the fact that you actually have a specific temperature range inside of your body, right? And if it goes too low, obviously things aren't going to work so well. All those chemical reactions, if they're cold, they don't tend to be so successful. Maybe something like responding to sound. You hear your name being called. You can actually turn in the general direction of where that sound has come from. But did you know that you're using 2 specific locations inside of your brain for that? And did you know that they actually have to work in a triangulation manner? So the responsiveness is actually a lot more difficult than simply responding to a sound. Finally, things like electrical signals. Well, that's how a nerve works, but an electrical signal doesn't mean you're turning on a light and shutting off a light, although by the time, hopefully, we finish going over how depolarizations occur, graded polarizations, receptor potentials, action potentials, all of that will seem like an electrical signal that you can respond to. And maybe even the ability to control all of the muscle cells inside of your body, even the one inside of your chest right now, which you don't have to think about. It's continually contracting. It was contracting before you were born. It will only stop when you die. So what is movement then? So movement, of course, is motion of the whole body, but the whole body means that everything inside of your body is moving. The organs, the cells, tiny subcellular structures, things like secretory vesicles are moving from one place to another. Leg muscles move the body from one place to another. So movement is relative to what it is you're actually looking at. Likewise, growth, an increase in body size. Think about what you started off as, right? You started off as essentially this little thing right here. Yay, whack, and put a little top hat on you. Yay, doink, doink, and a little top hat, doink. Okay, plus that over here. Gotta put that eye in there. Little bow, right? And then there's you. There's a whole lot of stuff that goes on in between there, but lo and behold, you had to grow, okay? From essentially one thing that we call the zygote to the trillions of cells that make you up now, okay? You with me? Differentiation, of course, is going to be the development of a cell from an unspecialized to a specialized one. And your textbook starts talking about stem cells to give rise to cells that undergo differentiation. Well, every single cell inside of your body that isn't terminally differentiated will undergo differentiation. I'm not even sure if you understand what that means yet. Okay? But the idea is that every single one of those 4 trillion plus cells inside of your body, they have to be told what to do and what to become. And to do that requires a set of signals, but they all have to arise from something. And that's what we mean by stem cells. Okay? And reproduction, of course, is the formation of new cells to replace all of those that, for whatever reason, are no longer functioning or have died. Okay? And ultimately, maybe some of those may end up creating a new individual. Not necessarily. Okay? You can, but not necessarily. Okay. The next major idea is what is homeostasis, and you've seen me draw something like this a couple of times now, I think, right? Like this, and this is your body, right? And you'd be having a really rough life if this is what it usually looks like, but normally I try to draw something that looks like a little bit closer to that, where you have a dynamic condition, and that dynamic condition is that if you're ever at homeostasis, equilibrium, right? Which is kind of funny in the way it's always been defined. Equilibrium would be the line traveling between these points, and you'd be dead. The dynamic condition, of course, is that you're ranging between equilibrium points. Okay? And what we mean by that is, okay, so here's 110 milligrams per deciliter of blood, which is 100 milliliters. And then here's 70 milligrams. And your body has a certain amount of time to keep all of these ranges in place. And that's a lot of work. It takes a lot of energy. But that's where you're going to be spending most of your time this semester, right? Thinking about how that actually happens, because homeostasis is what's actually measured. Let's get out of here. So it's actually measured inside the body fluids of your body. And the body fluids are defined as dilute, watery solutions containing dissolved chemicals inside it or outside of a cell. Where outside of a cell, you have the extracellular fluids. Okay? And those extracellular fluids become interstitial fluid. And depending on what textbook you're looking at, when we actually pull fluids out of your body, we're looking at interstitial fluids, and so therefore interstitial fluids are a measurement of normal homeostasis. We don't tend to measure inside of your cells all that much. It's pretty difficult to do. But if we did, you'd see that there's a fluid inside of those cells, and then we call that fluid intracellular fluid. The pooling of the interstitial fluid, okay, is what we're going to call extracellular fluid as blood plasma. Lymph is going to be interstitial fluid. That becomes lymph. Cerebral spinal fluid inside the brain and the spinal cord. You get the pattern here, I hope. And you'll notice even inside the vitreous body of the eyes, you actually have to have a certain amount of fluid inside of these spaces for them to function. That interstitial fluid depends on the regulation, the body's internal environment, and then how we actually get it to change. Slow down just a little bit here. The movement back and forth across capillary walls to provide glucose, oxygen, and ions to tissues and remove wastes. And, we're assuming you've done some college level biology here and you understand what carbon dioxide is. But if it's moving carbon dioxide, it's moving other things as well. So how does it do this? Well, you have to be able to withstand physical insults like heat. I mean, it's like really hot outside today, or lack of oxygen. I don't know. Don't go swimming with your mouth open and breathing in water into your lungs, right? Never a good idea. Changes in the internal environment. You haven't had a meal for 3 days. Okay? The psychological stresses, demands of work or school. Nudge, nudge, hint, hint, wink, wink. I'm going to be changing your homeostasis a lot. Okay? As well as disruptions that can be temporary. Intense and prolonged ones, of course, can actually create not necessarily good results for you. Contraindicated to living. So how do we actually detect these things? Well, we have things that are called feedback systems. And feedback systems come in 2 flavors, plus and, minus. AMP1 primarily focuses on negative feedback systems. Okay? Positive feedback systems tend to cause, confusion for students. I don't know why. Blood clotting is a positive feedback system. Without it, you die. Okay? I think everybody inside the room has the ability and the bandwidth to figure this stuff out. But there has to be something that can detect this. How do you detect change? Okay, well, that's the purpose of a receptor. And there are many, many different types of receptors. And they're going to send impulse and input to a control center. And that control center may be the brain. but it doesn't have to be. Okay? We're regulating calcium levels inside of your body. It doesn't go to your central nervous system. Okay? However, that control center, okay, is looking at the input that was received, and then it generates a command. And that command line is going to send either nerve impulses and or hormones, okay, to actually regulate what's going to happen next. And what we mean by next is going to be this fact that you actually have an effector. And that effector receives the output from the control center, okay, and produces a response. Okay, so imagine it's cold outside, your body says, hey, let's get you to shiver. Normally, you're going to be taught that skeletal muscle tissue is voluntary. Well, in this case, obviously we're telling you that to keep you alive, your body overtakes that voluntary component and makes it involuntary so you can actually generate heat to keep your body alive. So just to summarize all of that, right? Because what you want to do is you want to be able to say to yourself, look, I understand receptors send signal to control center. And that control center then, after interpreting whatever that signal is, whoops, wrong thing there, Jonathan, that is now going to send something to an effector. And normally this is when I say, look, if you can understand this, you can understand how everything inside the body works. But the problem is, students tend to go, oh, okay, I can get receptor, control center, and effector. What you're not doing is you're not applying the basic idea here and going, every single situation I'm looking at, can I identify what the receptors are? What type of information are they collecting? When they're sent to a control center, where is that control center? What is it doing? And what ultimately will I need to know about that? And then if we actually have to get things back to normal homeostasis, how is that effector actually getting its job done? Whoa, wrong thing there. Control Z. Let's go back here. There you go. Okay, that's the way you want to think about using feedback systems. Okay, so again, a moment ago I said that there's negative feedback systems and positive feedback systems. Your textbooks will always use normal childbirth as a normal feedback system, but we'll talk about that in class. Okay. Let's get rid of that up there. I don't want to insert any pictures at all. External or internal stimulus. The baroreceptors, which are going to be located in a specific area either next to the heart or headed towards your brain, detect higher blood pressure. And what's going to happen is it's going to send a signal, which is now going to drop blood pressure. How does it do this? Using those three simple systems, right? We're going to have a receptor, baroreceptor. Baro means pressure. Okay. It's going to send a nerve impulse to the brain. And the brain, of course, is the control center. And that control center is now going to send something to the heart and blood vessels to say, look, we need to chill out. So lower. There's the change effector function. Okay. Cool. Yay. Okay, so that's pretty good. And you can see here the positive feedback system. We'll go over that one inside class. Okay. But taking a look at what's actually going to happen inside of the body, here's another example. Normal conditions, severe blood loss causes a loss of oxygen to all of the cells, and therefore they can't efficiently function. If the blood loss continues, obviously you're going to die. So Mother Nature needs to figure out a way to fix this. You spend a lot of time inside AMP2 figuring out how to fix that. Because if you don't fix that, this is where you're headed, right? You don't want to end up there. Okay? So most everything that we actually teach you is how do you assess the basics. What mechanisms do we know that are in place to help protect your body? And from there, you know, can you actually get this back to staying inside of a range? Because if you stay outside of the range for too long, nothing good ever happens to you. Okay, that's a pretty good place to stop there.